welcome to Wrestle Opinionated. This is our weekly show all about the great shows of AEW. We are your hosts. I am Morg. This is...
I am Human Catastrophe, Matt Strange. And this is the weakest of us.
Well, yeah, and definitely the weakest, but I also have the most intelligence, so, you know, it works out all right. This is Muir.
How's everybody?
Damn, he was ready for me to shit-talk him.
How's everybody doing this week?
Good, thank you. Just stop playing video games, because that's all we can do in this time. 18 hours of watching wrestling and playing video games. It's almost perfect.
I'm learning to sculpt miniatures and cast them, so that's where I've reached this week.
I'm back in video game world. I'm back in my standard MMO.
In the Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, Dungeons and Dragons Online. Welcome to our weekly podcast all about playing computer games and sculpting
Computer
miniatures.
games we like.
So
I hope you're playing CM Punk as your character.
Oh, I will be.
CM Punk the Monk.
Excuse me, we all know it's all about being a warlock that's aligned to Jericho.
It's true, it is. Different D&D, though.
Yeah.
Welcome to our D&D podcast.
That's one we should consider. So, yeah, moving on. We have the news. Mr. Muir, do we have any news this week?
I think the most important news regarding the AEW side of things has got to be Adam Cole, I would say. You know, the thing that he hasn't signed a new contract within 2 months of it going off, and Britt Baker giving signs on their AEW podcast that she really wants him to join them. So, what do you think of that?
And that promotion with all of his best friends.
And his partner.
Yeah, but that's not Shawn Michaels, is it? You know?
Baker is not Shawn Michaels, Morg. You've got to give it that.
This is true. Triple H is really high on Adam Cole.
That's what I mean. The click is really high on him, so
It could be Randy Ortoning it.
But is Vince...
I would be Randy Ortoning it if I was him. You know, make a load of money extra and then carry on with your normal job. Seems like the most reasonable thing to do, but be nice to see him back, though, with them.
Yeah, I'd have him in a heartbeat.
Yes, but it's the thing of, will his career go farther with Triple H and Shawn Michaels backing him in WWE in regards to whatever they do with him in AEW?
Only if Vince dies.
I mean, it is the crux of most conversations to do with WWE, isn't it?
And I don't mean that to be, you know, quite as harsh as it sounds, but if Vince isn't high on him, he's not going to, it doesn't really matter.
He'll get ricocheted.
Yeah, there's other guys that Triple H. Yeah, there's a guy who needs to come home.
He needs to come back to his friend, to Chuck E. T.
So we also have some other news. Apparently, this week we found out Linda Hogan, who I believe is Hogan's ex-wife, or it might be his current wife.
Yes, ex-wife.
His ex-wife.
No.
Released some kind of offensive tweet, to which I believe it was Tony Khan responded.
Yep, Tony Khan himself.
Tony Khan responded, basically saying, well, congratulations, you are now banned from AEW, the same as your ex-husband. So Hulk Hogan is banned from AEW.
I mean,
don't be a racist. It's not hard. You know, I'm just saying.
I mean, he'd just book himself to win. He'd just turn up and beat everyone. So why would you want him to come over, you know? What's he going to do? He's the most useless scumbag in all of wrestling.
He'd be
Hulk Hogan just destroying Kenny.
He'd be the legend manager for Hangman Adam Page.
Oh, excuse me, he'd come in and somehow ruin Randy Savage's push, even though he's dead. He'd still ruin it.
You monster, we don't talk about that. Do not talk about Hogan ruining Macho Man. He was beautiful.
So, yeah, unfortunately, with big inverted commas, Hulk Hogan is banned from AEW. Really?
Oh, no.
Yeah, really gutted about this.
That's a shame. We won't have 101 old managers. We only have 100.
More on that later.
More on that later.
So moving on from the news, I think that's all we've got. Okay, because we're still in
Yeah.
these strange times.
We're still in the times of please be nice to each other, basically.
Yeah. We move on to our social media of the week, and I believe, Mr. Strange, you have something for us this week.
I have a couple of things, but one is not AEW. And I think we should read out the Stone Cold Steve Austin tweet just because it's fucking immense, if I'm completely honest. I'm not going to do the voice.
No, don't try.
So there was some woman defending the Confederate flag as a symbol of Southern pride and heritage and stuff. And fucking Stone Cold comes in all caps. That's nice and all, but if I recall, it don't matter what it means to you because to African Americans everywhere, it is a symbol of oppression, hatred, and equality. So your little heritage, not hate story don't mean shit because your stupid little heritage was built on the backs of slaves, and identifying with that kind of sort of definitely makes you trash in the Texas rattlesnake's eyes. So you can continue to spew your bullshit, but just know that none of us care, you dumb racist sumbitch, and that's the bottom line. God, I love him.
It's beautiful. Exactly the sort of reaction that's needed in this time,
Especially from someone the
So the Texan rattlesnake.
Yes.
A rednecky character.
Yeah.
If, Stone Cold's this weird lad that just wants to live on his ranch and play with vehicles. But,
And make beer.
Make beer.
Yeah.
Right. So that was cool. Wicked. Good work, Stone Cold. He's a universal wrestling legend now, let's be honest. Maybe he'll come to AEW and teach someone. Right, so rolling into actual social media and supporting the African-American message I just put out, actually, I would recommend not only following Brandy Rhodes. It's just Brandy she goes by. She does a bunch of shit, if I'm honest. This was only originally going to be a shot out to a YouTube channel, but I've looked through other things. So very active on Twitter. Obviously always involved in things, sharing the appropriate news, involved in a bunch of storylines. She is their chief
brand officer.
But she's also doing the heels thing I've talked about before, which is getting women into wrestling, where you can speak with a bunch of the female wrestlers, speak with other women who like wrestling, and it's a nice
really
little area.
Fantastic.
No, all of the women around us have shown an interest in it, and that's really good. But she also has the Shot of Brandy on YouTube on the Nightmare Family channel, and it is a mixture of joy and anger for me. It is Brandy with one of the AEW stars, normally sort of semi out of character or really out of character in some cases. She gets them shit-faced, and then they cook together. And it's really entertaining. But Brandy has the knife skills of the KP you don't want to employ, is probably the best way for me to put it. She... I
think you'd want to explain what a KP is. They're a kitchen porter, which is a pot wash to the most sensible people that have not worked in the industry.
So when you have a KP, it's meant to generally be a pot wash, but they normally end up doing all the shit jobs you don't want, and you get some really good ones. You could be like, Jim, knock out these starters for us. I'm buried, and Jim can do it. But then sometimes you get like somebody who's fucking useless. You'll be like, oh, can you just prep some broccoli for me? And they'll spend like 20 minutes shaving it into paste, and you'll be like, how do you not know broccoli? Hold their knives like they're fucking stabbing somebody and punch into things. Brandy's slightly above that, but I would not wish for her to assist me in any task.
And should we carry on from our cooking podcast to the wrestling one?
Sorry, man. It's really good. It's really fun. You get to see some genuine interaction between Brandy, who's awesome, and a variety of stars of AEW. It's Shot of Brandy on YouTube. Give it a watch. It's good fun, even if she can't cook.
Yeah, I've got to say, I think she can cook. She's just her prep skills are scary because they always really like the food, and she does eyeball a lot. So I've got to give her some credit. She comes across as being genuinely nice. It's because of watching that the Raptor wants to go and join in with the AEW heels. It was during watching an episode of that she said, I quite like the chance of hang out with Brandy. Sorry, Muir.
And if you're Nightmare Family rich, you can afford a chef to cook for you, can't you?
Yes. So, moving on from our social media, we move on to our weekly review of all things AEW. Starting off the week, we had BTE, or Being the Elite. In my notes, I've just got good. What did you guys think?
There was a lot of sections that didn't hit for me. Like, I still don't understand the Ultimate Warrior Jack Evans and the THQ lot.
One second, I've made myself cough because I was about to start laughing about their little A4 sign on the wall, and Jack Evans, the tiny, like, crackhead version of V from V for Vendetta.
I love the first section where they all pretended to be injured to get out of like doing anything to do with the public. I love Matt Jackson's continuous joke that he just blades himself whenever he wants to get out of anything.
Which is how Cody works, apparently.
Well, we can get on to that later, can't we? Chuck E. T's the new sex symbol of AEW, which I fully approve of.
That moment was the best. I pissed myself through it. It was awesome. It's the land before time.
I love Kenny's overselling whenever he does anything, just backstage when he gets all upset with Colt Cabana. Love that stuff. What do you guys enjoy about it?
I think you've kind of nailed it.
Yeah,
go on, Morg.
I liked the Jack Evans. So the Jack Evans bit is going to get assigned to. This is the first time we've done this on a BTE that I can remember. I am assigning the Jack Evans bit to should have been on Dark or Dynamite.
Oh, yeah, fair.
This is the first time we've actually. And we always said we'd do this.
Bit of character development, yeah.
Character development. It was very much. A promo that would have been a lot stronger on Dark or Dynamite.
With something more than an A4 piece of paper with TH2 written on it.
Yes.
I guess it's hard because they're probably trapped away from, the studios at the time.
Yeah. Have those two returned or not? I don't think I've seen
They
them.
have not returned, and I'm guessing they're stuck in South Africa, would be my guess, seeing as that's where they're from, if I remember correctly. Well, Angelico is.
Angelico is.
Angelico,
I think they both are.
Yeah.
I think they're both South Africans.
So I think they may have got trapped there. Apart from that, I think my favourite line was New Jack got him when Nick was selling on the floor.
Yes.
New Jack's like the horror villain of the wrestling world. Like, there is never a time I won't make a New Jack joke if there's an option to, like him coming out the shadows or throwing something off the top rope,
I would
just imagine booking him.
Like to state now that I will never I've never said anything bad about New Jack. And in case he is ever listening, no, I have never ever.
Very good at wrestling.
He's beautiful, and we will never say a bad word about him on this podcast.
So moving on.
Cool, Morg.
BTE, we have Dark. What did you think of Dark? What was the overall score for Dark this week? And were you thankful that it had gone back down to 45 minutes?
I was myself, because I was being lazy and I didn't watch Dark when it was released on Wednesday. So I had Dark, Dynamite, and Botchamania to watch in one day. So that was a bit tiring for me. As much as I love wrestling, that was a bit much. But yeah, for me, I really enjoyed it. I think Taz and Excalibur are still the best commentating team by far, apart from New Japan, but that's something completely different.
Giving it a quick run through, thinking of the matches, we had Skylar and Billy. God, Billy's massive, and God, I love him. With his one-man crowd, which really, Austin just saves everything.
I think we need to point out that Billy Gunn started wrestling on Pangaea in 1926. I think you'll find that is now canon, thanks to Excalibur. Billy Gunn started wrestling on Pangaea in 1926. Is part of the canon of AEW from Excalibur that then. Yes. Austin is so loud. Austin Gunn. I wish I had his booming voice whenever I have to speak to public. Gosh.
I hope he gets a push because he is.
I'm guessing this is building to him.
I just love his gimmick of I'm just a twat. Apparently, I like a baby face twat. It's just being a knob all the time, going just being annoying. Fucking loved him.
You mean slightly friendlier Pentagon?
Yes, I need face Pentagon to go with my heel Pentagon. Yeah, it was a fine, not much of a match really. There was the weird, was he going to do a pedigree moment?
Yeah,
Wasn't sure.
it was fun, but it wasn't a good match, let's be honest here. It was a weird squash that was a bit awkward, but I really enjoyed it for the storytelling myself.
Yeah, no, good start. Then we had some Ali Cutie hair thing. His hair does look good. Do you want my conspiracy theory now about that plot, or shall I save it for later?
You can throw it in that, because I've actually got one of my notes for Dark is so QT's new gimmick is he's having a midlife crisis. You have a conspiracy theory.
Yes, I do. So there was a video short through one of the AEW things of QT going to visit DDP through his glass window, because, you know, DDP has to act like a sagely master because he's an old man in AEW. And he's like, I'm going to teach you the super secret things of the diamond cutter, you know, because your finisher is just a move you do better than anybody else, basically. And then as soon as this like thing of him learning the secrets of the diamond cutter so he can have his own QT cutter or whatever they called it, Ali shows up and starts like seducing him. So I think Ali is seducing her way into QT to steal the diamond cutter to give it to her husband, the Blade.
I mean, I hope this is where it's going. I hope it goes somewhere, because every time I see Ali not wrestling or not being used with the Butcher and the Blade, it just saddens me, because I remember when she was wrestling and she was real good. And it's just sad to lose this Bunny Boiling character that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hopefully we'll get some more out of her now that the Women's League seems to be growing, which we'll get to in a moment. Yeah, so we've got the start of the Ali QT story, which I like. Then we roll into John Cruz and Alonso versus the Butcher and the Blade. God, the Butcher is beautiful. Was a long squash.
I just want to comment on that they are together, the Butcher and Blade, are 501 pounds. Jesus, that's a lot of... Yeah.
Jesus. Butcher's got better as well.
Yeah, Butcher's getting a lot better. Sammy's mate's real good, John Alonso. I like Joe Alonso. I really like him.
Yeah, the finisher looked better as well.
Yeah.
It wasn't great. It was...
But it's nice to see them being built back up, because they've been eating a lot of shit recently, and it's just nice to see them actually being booked like they're not, you know, a joke.
Yeah. Although they're going to lose next week.
I was going to say, unfortunately, I think they're eating shit next week.
They've got to, you know. Well, we can move on to that later, but they've got to eat shit in this situation, or it's a complete waste of the new characters.
Did Brandon and Avalon actually have a match, or did they just have a moment? Because I've just written down it's the best feud in AEW, and that's all I've got. I just love Avalon going, Brandon!
No, they had the Job Squad match versus the Natural Nightmares later on in the night, but they had this promo earlier.
Yeah. Then we had Christy James versus Kylin Lee, and I got really excited and messaged you guys to tell you all how excited I was.
Well, my first comment on this is, yes, this is what I want. Two new females being pushed, you know, being shown off against each other instead of, here's our daily squash match.
Yeah. Christy James sells like shit. She really made Kylin Lee feel massive and strong. It wasn't the smoothest match, you know, they're new girls. Yeah. But they both got character work in. Kylin's got a chance to be a face. Wasn't the smooth, but I had a really good time, and I think that was probably the one I enjoyed the most. No, it's obviously the last one I enjoyed the most, but this came close second just through excitement for more women's. Come on, Morg, you're the woman's expert here.
Yeah.
So I was really, really pleased, much the same as you two. I think it's looking like Christy James is the one who's got signed. We haven't seen anything official yet. That was the impression I got, which I'm quite pleased about because I quite like her. I like the dancing taunt and that she's got a bit of character.
I think they could go far with either of these. I think she could be the cocky, strong heel character, Christy James, and Kylin could be that murderous face heel because she's got the size, she's got the intimidation. you could build her really strong, I feel.
Yeah, and you haven't got a real monster face, which is something I'm a big fan of in general. I've
Agatha
said
her.
before. I mean, you've got Statlander and Swole, who are both strong, but unfortunately, because of the way that you had to book Nyla, and,
Yes.
and I agree with had to, they can't be that strong. You build her up, and yeah, you've got a good possibility there. I thought the match was okay. I enjoyed it. It was probably a high C for me.
That's what I got here.
But like I say, I am a little bit more picky when it comes to women's matches because I got to watch Sasha versus Bailey in NXT, and that set a bar that is very high.
Well, if I could have any female from the roster that isn't a Stardom wrestler, it would be Bailey. I really enjoy watching her matches.
Interesting little fact I've got just from a quick Google is that Kylin Lee is 4 inches taller than Nyla Rose.
She is massive.
So that's again. So you've got that playoff of someone who can come out and not be intimidated.
The missing Awesome Kong, basically.
That's the other thing. Awesome Kong comes out as a monster face, and I've always been quite surprised that she was a heel after how awesome she was in Glow.
I've not seen Glow, so I'll have to just take your word for that.
Yeah, it's a soap opera, but she in series 2, she had the real heart-wrenching story, and considering she's a wrestler first, in my opinion, she's a wrestler first. She got that real heartbreak story across really well, and then she had a similar story in season 3, where her character isn't able to wrestle again, and they basically decide that she's going to become a manager. But yeah, so I'm surprised.
Watch Glow, guys. Apparently, it's really good.
It's a soap opera. It's a soap opera, pure soap opera. I really enjoy it because it's a show about a women's wrestling show. So
yeah, right. I'm going to move us on because we've now spent.
It
was. We were all very excited about the women's. Leroy and Lewis versus Proud and the Powerful. Fucking Nintendo fanboys.
That Switch was broken beforehand. You could see that it had a smash screen beforehand. Just saying. But
very Proud and the Powerful are awesome what they do, and I love them, and I get really excited when I see Evil Goblin Ortiz doing back rakes and stuff. It was all solid and good and brutal, but it was just a long squash match.
He had a great Liger bomb during that match. It was absolutely beautiful. And his barking just always gets me when he just acted like a freaking dog. It's just like, yes, carry on.
It's weird because technically Santana is the better wrestler of the two, I would say, but crazy little Ortiz just fills my heel-loving heart with joy. It's a long squash, meh. And then we ended up with Brandon and Avalon versus the Natural Nightmares. What have we got about this? Avalon kicking the Mimic Ball away. Brilliant. Dustin versus Brandon was really smooth. Ali got a bit distracting for me. Like, I appreciated her being there and the character work, but it seemed to cut away to her a bit too much. Like, I got the theme. I didn't need to miss some of the ring action for it.
I enjoyed Taz always trying to get her to talk about him. Like, when she was saying about Excalibur's mask, and he was like, I'm not wearing a mask, and just trying to change everything onto him the whole time whenever she was talking. I enjoyed that, just trying to get her attention.
I don't think they needed to cut to her. I think she was good on commentary, and she got the storyline that's going on with her and QT across.
Her stealing the diamond cutter.
QT's midlife crisis.
Avalon getting in a back rake as well for.
Yeah, I commented on that.
Yeah, I noticed that and went, strange will be pleased. Avalon did a back rake.
And then Taz flexing on Excalibur, saying that he drives a BMW when he said he drove a Honda Civic and stuff like that. I just enjoyed they're just a classic 2-man commentary team that bounce off each other really well. I also thought Brandy's did a great stunner with someone that was wearing 6-inch plus heels in the ring.
Into a bionic shoulder. Don't forget the bionic shoulder makes it harder.
Sorry, I forget. And God, Dustin Rhodes, as much as I love him and he can go for a man his age, he needs to stop that destroyer. It looks fucking awful every time.
Literally on my notes is written that destroyer is awful, word for word.
Yep. What do you think, Morg, on it?
See, I remember when P.T. Williams brought the Canadian Destroyer in, and it was the most devastating, amazing move in wrestling.
I shit my pants when I first saw it.
Mate, you know.
I shared gifs of that to friends of ours when we were watching it. Like, this is the most amazing move ever.
Correct.
It's been a bit overplayed, and nobody really does it as well as he did. As much as I love Pentagon, I don't think Pentagon's is as good as his. It's just not as crisp and clean. It doesn't look quite as devastating. And it
always looks like people are backflipping.
Yes,
they are.
Yeah, it's a move for the cruiserweights.
100%, but I don't like seeing it as a transitional move. I know it may be old man wrestling, but it feels so that move should be so devastating a man ain't getting up from it. Or a lady.
Yeah, you didn't used to get up from a normal pile driver, and that's supposed to be, you know, a pile driver. Nobody gets up from a jumping tombstone.
No. Also, QT, I see him as basically that. You know, when you're like 17 and your one mate that never had a girlfriend finally had a girlfriend. That's what QT seems to be for me.
I'm not going to name any of my friends, but I'm thinking of one of them.
That's exactly how I feel he was acting during the promo afterwards as well.
Yeah, I'm with you. I liked Ali being stood in literally sexy villainess pose, like perfectly with one foot pointing.
She's got brilliant poise and I love it. It's just like, I just want to see her back in the ring though. It just makes me upset. But, you know, what can you do? It's a storyline. I feel it's a bit weird that they're pushing a QT storyline because it's like, I always felt like he was more trying to push other wrestlers because, you know, he's got his wrestling school and everything like that. But,
he's got hair now.
He does have hair.
We are addressing something that we criticised early in our podcasts, though, of QT having no personality. At least he's got a gimmick and personality now.
I was happy with him not having a personality because I felt like he was trying to just be a low-key wrestler, sort of just there. But now, I don't know, you know.
There it goes.
Exactly. So we've got anything more to say about Dark?
No, I think that's it for Dark. So we now move on. Oh, yes. What is our overall rating for Dark this week?
Let's have a nose. I think it was good. I think we're looking at a solid C show. There were some long squashes, but some good moments with the women's introduction matches. Well, yeah, secondary matches. I think it's worth a watch. It's not like the best Dark we've had, but there was a lot of cool stuff in there.
Excellent.
It's definitely worth watching. I think it was a good build-up. I'd like to see it when it's just another show on TV. I think that will build it up a bit more production value, a bit more streamline of it to be built into an actual show will do a lot of good. But I think it was really worth watching. I think you should watch it.
I think Dark, when it goes back to just being the Dark matches from Dynamite, will be better.
Yes.
So before we go into Dynamite, where we will rate and rank, this might be your first ever episode of our podcast. And as such, we've already touched on it already. We have a tier system as to how we review and rate our matches and the card. Every week, Mr. Strange re-explains our tier system. Do you have something to re-explain it with this week?
Of course I do. I am always prepared.
So this is our tier system before we review Dynamite. Over to you, Mr. Strange.
Okay, so I use the basic tier system list. It's getting more prominence now. It's being seen in YouTube videos on a few websites. It obviously originally comes from the Japanese school system and Japanese computer games. You might recognize it from early Resident Evils and such like. It's we work on the basis of a C. I should probably explain what I'm going to explain with. Today's tier list, Morg, will be in bears. Different types of bears. So we'll start with the C. A C is your average match. It's what I should expect. That means it's good. It doesn't mean it's meh. It means I've enjoyed myself throughout. I might have some criticisms, but overall the story in wrestling is good enough to get me through. This is obviously represented by the black bear. Black bear is your basic bear. Does everything a bear needs to do. Looks adorable. Can probably kill a man. Goes through bins. Does that walk on the back legs. Waves. Everybody's pleased if they're talking about a bear and they see a black bear. We have one grade below this. This is a match where I'm just displeased. I'm not really watching. I'm not happy. It's not a good wrestling match. Just like how the panda bear is not a good bear. It doesn't want to breed, doesn't want to eat, falls over. It's fucking useless. That is a D match. I could be doing anything else. The time is better spent with pretty much any other activity. Working up from the black bear, we have the sun bear of wrestling matches. It's got a little bit more color to it. It's a little bit more exciting. The sun bear's got a nice little necklace thing. It's exceptionally aggressive, even though it's the smallest of the bears. It's like an angry, decorated cruiserweight. It's like Pac. A B match has that little bit more character, or that little bit more power, or that little bit more story to just take it being above the average. I'm more invested. I want to know.
So
I want to know what's going on.
how dare you refer to Pac in anything that is just a B, first of all. But carry on.
As a bear. An A rank bear or an A rank match would obviously show possibly the top tier of what you would expect. You've got that great character, you've got that great match, you've got great aggression, good story, good strength. You've got the grizzly bear. It's a bear taken to 10. That's an A rank match. Everything is good. Everything pleases. Maybe something's really good, but something else is a little bit weaker. But that's an A match. Something where my eyes are on the screen. I don't look away, and I text my friends afterwards to tell them to watch the match. Obviously, there's only one S rank bear. The polar bear runs at 30 miles an hour. Only eats meat. Beautiful. Dies in glorious combat. An S rank match should be like the polar bear. Sadly rare. It should be the perfect accumulation of story, wrestling, skill. I want to be fascinated, invested from the pre-promo to the after-ring speech. It's a glorious moment, just as how the polar bear is the most glorious of bears. And that's my tier list for today, Morg. Bears.
Also the best totem in Werewolf.
It is also the best totem in Werewolf, the Apocalypse.
So, Dynamite. Dynamite opens up.
Dynamite. Bears.
We have Excalibur, JR, and Shivani on commentary. The first match opens up. It is Kip and Havoc versus Paige and Omega for the Tag Team Championships. I want to say briefly, like I've written it on my notes, I've missed Hangman's music. Paige and Omega win with the last call, which is what I believe they're calling their double finisher. What did you guys think of the match, and what rank did you give it?
Right, so I love the lads on tour. I'm so happy to see Kenny and Hangman back together. I didn't realize how much I'd missed them as a team. The Penelope catch was probably my moment of the night. That was phenomenal. What do I do? The Kip drop kick moonsault combo. It felt like a pay-per-view match. It felt like an actual proper match. I had a wicked time throughout. I was happy to see everybody back. I was happy for a bit of story. The lads on tour are always doing character work and playing their characters. I think it's a high B, if not an A. I had a fabulous time, and I think it was a great comeback for the boys.
For myself, a few of my notes. I liked how FTR seemed to be scoping out the entire tag team division. They're like watching everyone. They look like they're methodically here to work and win. They don't care about the spots. They're just here to make the most money. I loved the Penelope Ford's bit as well. It's like a Renaissance painting if you pause that. The match was definitely pay-per-view quality. I would definitely give it an A myself. Because the most important thing for me with wrestling, and as any wrestler would tell you, is the last call. Everyone looked strong after the match. You didn't feel like anybody felt weaker after that match.
Yeah, you're right.
And another great thing, Penelope Ford is being infected even more with Britishness because she was wearing Dr. Martens that match.
Was she?
Yes, mate.
She's caught us.
And also, I just want to also gush about Hangman. For a man that I literally got angry when I saw him on screen the first few times I saw him because I disliked him that much, he's won me over so much, and it's just a joy to see how much he's improved and made me like him.
So very similar with Penelope. I was not a fan. I've said this before. I was not a fan. Every time I see her, I like Penelope even more.
Exactly.
She's not quite at that level yet. I'd like to see what happens when we get a crowd in, but we've talked about which heel group should turn face first. And as our resident really likes the baby faces, I am starting to see a dickhead babyface lads on tour with a babyface Penelope could actually be a lot of fun. Yeah, really enjoyed it. High B, A for me.
I think it's going to be an A overall.
Which I think, yeah,
I'll push it up to an A. I've got to say that was fantastic, and you've got to accept that that was a pay-per-view quality match that you got for free. It was the best start to Dynamite I think we've had this year.
It was a grizzly bear of a match.
So after that, we had a Tully and Spears video promo. What did you think of the promo, and did it deserve a rank?
Have you seen the full Tully dressing down on YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen the full Tully dressing down, and they show it somewhere else as well.
They only showed a very limited amount of it on Dynamite, but I think the full dressing down would be a B, maybe even pushing up to A. I think it's really nice to see that Tully can still really talk the talk and is really good on it. The reveal of the magic glove. What do you
could have been
guys
explained? Yeah, Morg, you're our old wrestling sage. Did you understand the black glove when it came out?
So they mentioned it. It's, I think, so I wasn't completely sure. I think it's it plays back to the old, wearing the glove that you punch somebody with and it will knock them out. I think it runs back to that kind of thing.
It goes all the way back to Blackjack Mulligan in the territory days of, if you had the black glove on, you're the evil heel and you're like willing to do anything to be winning and stuff like that. Basically, it's basically he's going to turn into this dark character that will do anything to win a match. I would imagine that's what they're going for there.
I think it could have been explained a bit better because I appreciate a lot of old Southern people and certain old wrestlers. I mean, Morg is our resident sage and didn't know it. I'm guessing you've looked it up.
I looked it up because I had no clue. Yes, completely.
It could have been explained a bit better because not all of us are ancient wrestling sages of the Southern Territories.
It felt very much like the Butcher, Bunny and Blade moment to me. It's like, this is cool, but I want to know more. But other than that, I'd give the promo a B. I think it was really strong. The full Tully promo was fantastic, and I think it was a good dressing down to try and orientate Sean back to something because he feels like he's been a bit over the place,
Yeah, I think it was a move away from the comedy heel thing he's been doing during lockdown to get him back onto being the chairman who came out and smacked Cody with the chair. I really enjoyed it. Mr. Strange?
I didn't rank it just because I felt like it was more of an intro piece. My voice broke at the start of that sentence. Yeah, no, I'm intrigued to see where it goes. I don't. Although the Tully promo where he's dressing down Sean was really good, we didn't see all of that, and that hasn't been presented as a full product on the show, so I can't rate it based off that. So I'll give it a C to see where it's going, but I'm not sure it's earned much more from me yet.
That's fair. So following that, we had Cage with Taz versus Sean Dean. Cage wins with the drill claw. What did you think of the match? And I think I know the answer to this. What ranking did you give it?
Well, before I rank it, I'd like to bring up my new observation that The Taz looks like a tiny evil Dr. Robotnik who's finally lost his shit with Sonic and has decided to just pull out the henchest minion. With his little glasses and his little,
exactly.
little Dr. Eggman. It was a squash match, D. Yeah.
It's a D for me. I've got a few points, like £278 for Cage. He looks a lot heavier than that, but maybe I'm just used to silly WWE weighting.
He's only like 5'9".
Yeah, fair, but he's so big. It's like terrifying how big that man is. Also, where is Weapon X? Where is my Weapon X?
He best bust it out against Moxley. That's what I want. I want him to be fighting Mox, and Mox to be like, I've prepared for the drill claw, and him to be like, that's not my finisher. Weapon X is my finisher. The what? Sorry, carry on. I went over you there.
So, is Cage and Taz actually heels, or are they riding that line? That's something I wanted to bring up.
What, are they going to be tweeners?
I feel that they are. I don't think they're not like, ooh, we're evil. They're just like, we want to win. They haven't actually shown tendencies towards being dickish heels. They've just come out and gone, we're going to win. What do you think, Morg?
I hadn't thought of that until you just mentioned it, and you are.
Me either.
You are right. Maybe they're playing the more heel side currently, due to the fact of who they are facing. Which
I feel it's more of like two tough guys just wanting to brawl. That's my feel on it.
I was about to say, so moving on from that, we had a Taz promo in the ring when Mox arrives, and we have a Mox promo. I was going to ask what you thought of the promo, but with what you've just said, I'm going to step over what I originally thought about that. That promo was comparatively quite respectful.
Yes.
What did you guys think of the promo? What score did you give it? I'll give my opinions afterwards.
Good Mox again. Nice little back and forth. Nice little acknowledgement of threat. Acknowledging it. But nobody sold anybody else as weak, or I'll just kick shit out of you, basically. That's what Taz was going for. But, it was a lot more like they faced off. I really enjoyed it. It was a strong promo. That's like B grade for me for a nice little moment, especially after that match.
It was a B for me also. I think my favourite bit of it was when Taz just looked at Moxley when he was coming in. He's like, if you come in here and you disrespect us, we're going to kick fuck out of you, which I really liked. They were just like, you better respect us and treat us like what we are, when he was trying to enter the ring. And Mox actually pauses, thinks about what he's going to do, then enters the ring, which I think is another good build for Cage.
I thought the promo was good. Mox kept the respect value, but also managed to get himself. He kept Cage over. He made himself look like the crazy Mox, and you're stepping in the ring. It's the Rorschach from Watchmen. I'm not stuck in here with you. You're stuck in here with me, and I'm a crazy badass. You're a big scary dude, but I'm not completely, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was another good. Mox is back on form on his promos.
Yes, he is. Thank God.
Yeah. I think losing the crowd helped Mox's promos go back to where they needed to be.
I think you're 100% right there. After that Revolution Confusion promo, and then I didn't want to say it, but yes, I think he's built it up really well, and I really enjoyed it. So, what did we think of the Murder Hawks smashing up luchadors in the parking lot scene?
Yep, next video promo next.
Tiny Luchador showed up at the end of last one, if you recall. We've not seen Flamey Luchador yet. He could be anyone.
He's strong, not the weakest of the luchadors.
No, he's not Serpentico. Anybody else notice Jake looked nervous? Like, actually worried?
I think that was part of his... I think that was part of the promo itself, though. I think that was Jake's work, because he apologized to the interviewer, and that was quite an interesting... I think he's lost control of him. Yeah, and I think that's where... I think there's a storyline within that, and I think that was Jake actually being really good at his job.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. Short, concise, made me still think that Lance Archer is an angry monster. I don't know really. If I had to rank it because it was quite short, I'd give it a B for a nice moment of Lance Archer is still hard and a psycho. Why he's beating a luchador up in a little like rundown loss, I don't know. Did he take him there? Was he out walking and he just happened to see a luchador? Do luchadors travel everywhere in their masks?
It's like Lucha Underground, mate. There's just luchadors in the normal world, I think you'll find.
Just hanging about.
Yes, mate. I also like the line of, do you think one loss would stop me from being who I am? I also like that because I felt like it built up that loss meant really nothing to him.
Yeah. So following on from that, we have another video promo. We have a Private Party and Matt Hardy video promo. What did you think of this? Did you think it deserved a score?
First of all, I think we need to state which Matt Hardy is in any particular promo or match before we start discussing it.
This was what I consider to be classic Hardy Boys Matt Hardy.
You see, I've redubbed him as Nice Dad Matt Hardy. I quite liked his cool respect moment, Private Party. Him going respect to Sammy after was cool. I want to see where Matt Hardy's going now with this. I'm actually intrigued. I gave it a B rank just because it was funny. It had a nice little moment at the end. Face turn for Sammy, you know. I really liked it.
I'm interested to see what Damascus thinks of Sammy, to see if he's going to come out as Damascus one time and then give shit to Sammy, or is he going to have the same opinions? What's going to happen here? Is every different character of Matt Hardy going to be a different alignment, basically? Yes.
I think I'd quite like to see that, a little bit Three Faces of
Me
Foley. I liked the giving the respect because one of the things Matt has said, and I said this to the Raptors, we were watching it, that we really liked that promo. I ranked that promo quite high because it got a bit of a bonus for me because it followed storyline. And Matt is there, has said Jericho's there to take the title and make it all about him. Matt is there to work with
there to build up AEW. That's literally what he said. Yeah, every time.
Yeah, and him giving the respect to Sammy, who he's had this, blood feud with, so to speak, was, I thought, a really nice touch of continuing that character.
Yeah.
So we got the replay of all Cody's things, and then,
the Cody Martin trailer.
Yes. And then we got the news, which I thought was a real interesting one, which I think we'll need to discuss at some point, that Fyter Fest will be over 2 weeks and on TV, which I think is a good idea, but we'll discuss that later.
Yeah, more on that later.
And then more stuff about Tyson. I didn't care, but that's me.
I don't care about Tyson.
Yeah, I didn't add it to my list. Okay. It was just a recap of last week to me. I think we're aiming for Jericho versus Tyson at Fyter Fest.
I would imagine so.
What we had after that is Colt versus Jericho. I've got them as with Sammy and Jake Hager. Jericho wins with the Judas effect. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give it?
Right, so we got some Ali QT continuity at the start, so that pleased me. I don't understand how Sammy can sing that out of time. Like, I appreciate he's bad at singing, but Jericho
I think that's him just putting it on now. I think it's almost him, as we're talking about his face turn, I think it's almost him disrespecting Jericho at this point now. I think it's moving. I think it's him moving on to going, I don't give a fuck about you anymore. You're only out for yourself. And these other guys like Matt Hardy would actually try and build me up.
Well, he did he has seemed to sort of start noticing that maybe Jericho isn't as great as Jericho makes out. But
also, I loved Jericho trying not to corpse through the whole of him singing. It was beautiful.
Yes.
Man. Jericho had really weird punches at the start. I don't know if he was trying to be a boxer or something. Like, overall, the match was not as good as I'd hoped. I expected better from the two of them. Weird end. It was all right. It was solid. probably worthy of a C, but I don't know. I kind of expected more from two people I really enjoy watch wrestling normally.
You mean the greatest of all time and the man that saved the indies versus each other should have been a showstopper? I 100% agree with you. I still think it was a strong match, but I think we were all expecting A, and I think we got a B, so we're a little bit down on it.
Yeah, maybe.
I thought
Morg?
Yeah, I had it. It was okay. It was a good match, and I think I agree with you, Muir. I was expecting an A from these two. I don't think we got a B. I think we got.
Are you with me?
I think we got a C. I think we got a match that I watched. I didn't fiddle about on my phone. I wasn't messaging you guys during it, but I wasn't completely gripped. I don't think the ending was as botchy as people think. I know the Raptor thought that the ending was a bit weird, and it looked like Colt had made a mistake, but he was going for that. He does that
Didn't
thing
do his step jump roll, but he didn't pull it off very smoothly either.
Well, he does that thing where he goes up the rope to try and misdirect the opponent, and Jericho was ready for him. And as much as legitimately being elbowed in the face by Jericho is going to hurt, I still don't like the Judas effect. So that doesn't help. Anytime he wins with the Judas effect, it's...
See, I've got the complete opposite about the Judas effect. I think it's a great finisher because it doesn't make anybody look weak. It's just like he caught you out of place and got the Judas effect off, you're dead. I kind of like that feel from it because it's a good way for this shit-eating heel to get his win over without, overly publicizing that he kicked fuck out of you. He just won because he got that Judas effect off on you.
That's a fair comment.
Also, I like the Superman into Lion Tamer, but I think it was a bit botched. But
yeah, it wasn't as smooth as it could have been.
Yeah,
I'm sticking with a C. The match was
good. I'll fall to a C then with you guys.
And then we roll into Jericho on the mic, and I was really afraid Mike Tyson was coming out. I was like, please, God, no, not Mike Tyson. But it was Orange Cassidy, and I laughed. And Sammy also looked like he didn't know what was happening. And he did act like he saw Jericho was looking weak.
What do you think on the whole Sammy side of things, Morg? What's your feeling on that matter?
So him sort of almost cheering Colt at one point, I thought was nice and subtle, and the camera caught him. I'm hoping that was intentional. And not a mistake, and Sammy was just actually enjoying the match, if you know what I mean. And
I think it's intentional.
There's a lot of stuff going on at the moment with Sammy. I always thought that Jake Hager would be the one to break out of the Inner Circle. Sammy is the one that makes the most sense.
Yeah,
he's the impressionable youth that could be sided away, sort of thing.
Yeah, but he's also the one that I see. I expect it to be Jake Hager, and we to go down almost the Batista storyline with the Jericho just keeps hiding behind Hager, and we know Hager's actually got that nice smile, and has actually got that little bit of dad humor. So we know that I think Sammy is the right choice. I don't know whether they could be double bluffing us. I think it's a bit early for someone to turn out of the Inner Circle.
It's been a year,
but they have been going. I was just about to say, but they have been going a year. But they don't feel old and worn, and I'm not bored of them. But at the same time, my favourite faction of all time, the Shield, when they broke up when they were still high, before anyone had got bored of them.
It is the best time for them to split up.
Yeah, I'm very 50-50 as to whether...
If Sammy has a coup and kicks out Jericho instead, and he has to leave like a drunken old rocker.
You mean do the Rock?
With the
Rock with the
Nation of Domination.
Yeah. Where, you have Sammy actually starts to take over the group.
I think we could go either way with this, and we just got to wait to see how it goes on further. And moving on to the best part of the night, the Britt
So-
Baker promo.
Then we had a Britt Breaker video package. Now, before we do this, I have to give a special shout out because Excalibur won the night for me because he made a complete Terry Pratchett, and it had to be a Terry Pratchett reference because he did not just say, he was talking about the role.
The Rolls Royce.
The role, yeah. And he said it is a pun or play on words. He did not just say, oh, it's a pun. He did not just say it's a play on words. That is an exact Pratchett reference. Excalibur has just won the episode for me and is now officially my favourite commentator.
Whoa.
Because
Never forget Matt Stryker used to talk about D&D all the time.
But I am a massive Pratchett fan, so I have to. Yeah, Excalibur, Sir Terry Pratchett, Excalibur has won for me for the night.
It's always nice to see how much massive nerds every single wrestler is.
Even people like Excalibur.
Yeah.
The Britt Baker video package, what did you guys think of it? What score did you give it? I have a feeling I know the answers to these.
It's an S tier.
It was beautiful. I laughed all the way through, pulling tiny weights tied onto the fucking wheelchair. It was an S tier. That is exactly what I want from Brit. She has an ultimate twat Brit montage promo. I laughed all the way through. It was wonderful.
My favourite part of it was when Tony Schiavone comes out at the end to cheer her on when she's trying to go up the stairs. Oh, it still makes me laugh now.
The only way it could have been better is if the wheelchair had been electric. That was the only thing that could have made it. Because the only small thing of it was well, actually, she is using a lot of arm strength. But it was hilarious. We were in hysterics, and Britt Baker's got a personality all of a sudden.
So good. Like when she did the dentist promo a few weeks back with the posters of her on inspirational posters with Tony Schiavone. Yeah. I love this. Like the fact she's apparently got like Tony Schiavone, like some kind of bullied friend, and her Mexican house person, her racist joke assistant, basically. I believe she's a wrestler as well, actually. I love all of it. I cannot wait for her world to crumble because it's immense.
I am wondering if this isn't necessarily leading to. I'm wondering if this is leading to her assistant being a new female wrestler.
Yeah,
and we're going to have a bit of the old Virgil and the $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase.
Yeah,
which is a great story.
Yes.
It was a great story. You need to run that one into the ground almost, though.
The thing I really love from every single one is the self-depreciation of the humor of them always having tiny weights with anybody on AEW, like Kenny when he was lifting the tiny weights in BTE, and now Britt Baker. I do love that they don't take themselves too seriously. I just think it's great.
I can't wait to see Cage do it.
So following on from that, we had Big Swole versus Nyla Rose. Nyla wins with a spine buster. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give the match?
Swole dresses like a Power Ranger. Just throwing it out there. Bit of a slow start, wasn't very smooth. Picked up a bit and just didn't really get into it. It was solid. I gave it a C. Like it didn't really go anywhere. Nyla still got to look strong. Obviously, I appreciated that. Moment after was better than the match for me, shall we say? I'd give it a C. It was all right.
For me, I thought it was really good. Maybe I saw it, but I liked the idea of Swole trying to be technical to take down Nyla. She can't beat her in strength, so she was trying all these technical wrestling holds to try and break her down.
I thought that was cool. I just didn't think it, obviously because they haven't fought each other in ages, I just didn't think it was very smoothly done.
No, I like the storytelling, but and then just she let off the steam for a second and Nyla just destroyed her, sort of thing. I like the storytelling. The the way it went wasn't as good as I think they had in mind, but I still think it was a fine match. I think it was a C.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you, Muir. I love the storytelling at the beginning. The fact that it looked like Swole kept having a lot of the answers to what Nyla was trying to do. I really liked that. I think that got Swole over. C for me. Then we had Schiavone interviewing Swole. What did you think of that? Did that spark a rank, or was it just a quick interview piece?
The Swole promo, I have 3 notes. 1, her abs are gorgeous. They are like sculpted. She is like a statue, and they're wonderful. I didn't seemingly pay much attention to the actual interview because the next comment is Britt crashed those barricades harder than Cody did. Swole looked badass in a little exchange with Britt. I enjoyed that moment. I don't specifically remember any like interviewy bits at the start.
I think it was mostly down to the Britt Baker part, unfortunately. Like, Swole was fine, but then I like the build between those two. And also my notes was Wardlow looks fantastic in a tank top. Was mostly my notes.
So following that, go on.
Yeah, go on. I was going to say, the interview, not so much. The moment of Swole like fucking threatening Britt after she'd run the barricade harder than Cody can made Swole look badass and gave us a bit of story for those two, possibly in the future. Strong. Yeah,
and you're definitely getting a strong storyline with Britt. After that, we had a Darby Allin interview / promo. Very short, if I remember correctly. What did you think?
My one note is Cage just folds him. You are so small. I think it's probably the weakest of the Darby. I didn't rank it just because it was like, 30 seconds, if that?
Yeah.
Not Darby's coolest promo. It didn't come across like a Guinness advert, so I was a little bit disappointed.
Solid, edgy 15-year-old kid promo, I thought. That's what my notes were. It was a solid, I'm so edgy promo. But, he's been on fire for most of them. I just felt that one didn't bounce as well as the others.
I think it's going to be a case of getting a crowd back for him. So then we're on to, and I'd like to hear your views first on this, Mr. Strange, because this one, I think, for me, is quite an important one to hear your view. So then we had the FTR interview. I do have a little thing here where I have noted Young Bucks versus FTR has to happen in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
100%.
I didn't buy the explanation of what does FTR mean. It means whatever we want. Oh.
It means fuck the revival.
Yeah, I know, but, trying to explain it further, you could have just been binged over that, It doesn't mean, like, I don't know, fried tofu rice, for example. It means whatever we want at the time. Oh, brilliant. I don't know. I like their tag joke at the Lucha Brothers. That made me laugh about actually tagging. The majority of it didn't really get anything for me. They didn't come across as like particularly badass. They didn't come across as like particularly hard. They were like, yes, we are here to win wrestling matches because we are good. And I was like, okay. Then Miami Butcher and the Blade ran out to give him a threat, and they actually got a bit more twatty and threw a milkshake at him or whatever. So I need to see more before I can really get an opinion. I don't think it actually set any character idea for them in my mind. I'm just like, they are tag team people who like wrestling. And they will be a little bit honourable, but also throw milkshake at Butcher, who is beautiful. That's, I have to see. Sorry.
No. That was why I was interested in your opinion. What did you think of it, Mr. Muir?
I think it was strong. I liked that they were going, we don't really care about the art of wrestling. We just want to win. I felt like it gave them a solid grounding of that they're more, I'm just here to fight you and win. I'm not here to, entertain the crowd sort of feel. I think it gave them this serious demeanor about it. But I felt that as much as I love seeing the Butcher and the Blade, I thought it was kind of like, why did you turn up? I think it was better without them. But that's my opinion on it. But it's solid work to build them up as these. We don't really care about giving people a good wrestling. We just want to win. I like that as a storyline, but that's my feel on it.
So following on from that, we had a Colt Cabana interview. What did you think? Did it deserve a ranking?
Liked it. Nice continuity. He did look at the Dark Order tickets in the past. I mean, he's only lost one match, so I'm not sure he needed them. But it was nice to see Brody not just being an evil asshole. Maybe they've drugged the water they gave him. I didn't rank it because it was quite short, but I like a little bit of continuity story that can lead somewhere and shows another side of a character.
Yeah, I liked the continuity with the Dark Order. That they all, you know, they're going for anyone. They're not just, you know.
I think it's just a solid, I can't win my big matches because he's lost against Archer, now he's lost against Jericho promo. Just sort of build him up like he's a good, solid wrestler, but he needs that little bit more to get into, you know, the top. I thought it was quite nice like that.
Yeah.
So following on,
seen the Dark Order do Dark Order things.
Following on from that, we had Jungle Boy versus Cody for the TNT Championship. Cody wins with the Crossroads. What did you think of the match, and what score did you give it?
Find you somebody who loves you like JR loves Jungle Boy. I'm just saying. Obviously, it was great. I like Angry Cody. I like him losing his shit. Well, why did Cody move the table? Why did Cody just headbutt a wall?
To Blade!
It didn't need it, Cody. You didn't need to bleed.
Gotta have some colour, brother. I like the TNT coloured bars. I thought that was quite cool. For when he came out, Cody's name was in the TNT bagged belt colours. It was silver and red. I thought that was quite cool. But
I did. Yeah, it was a good match. I'd give it I think it's a B. It was a nice, solid Cody good match. Cody's very good with everybody. Jungle Boy's very good with everybody. I'm not sure it needed bleeding, and the table setup was a bit weird. Yeah, it was a really good match. I don't think it's
from the Freestar General.
Yeah, exactly. It's a B. I had a good time. I watched it all the way through. Minor couple of criticisms. I've got one note I can't read, so that's not helping me. It seems to say, why Cody? Why harm the comes? Never mind. Cody did something weird, and I judged him for it. Yeah, good match.
Morg, what do you think on Jungle Boy being pinned to only one Crossroads after we've seen how weak the Crossroads generally is?
I think they're trying to build it back up.
Okay.
A bit.
They have been selling it a bit better in that like more spiky way.
There is so there's a video series quite a long time ago that I watched, which is Raven talking about wrestling and kind of doing sort of a masterclass on wrestling. It's like a 3-part DVD set, which one of our friends actually has. And it's well worth a watch. In that, he talks about finishers and people kicking out of finishers, and the way you have to view it is, oh yeah, but I last time you did it to me, you did it on a chair and I kicked out, but this time, why should I kick out? Well, you kick out this time because I hit it better. It landed better this time. Last time it didn't land quite right. I didn't get all the power in. So I'm willing to take finishers as finishers, and because I've seen that video, that is how I will view them, if that makes sense.
That does make sense.
That has coloured my view.
But we've consistently seen him had to hit a couple at a time, and I think that's...
But that's... Or you could argue that that's his guarantee to put you down if you've kicked out of one earlier.
Yeah, fair.
Also, I prefer the NJPW thing of that you have two finishes. You have like your half-baked Destino, and then you have the full Destino for when you need to finish him, sort of thing.
The running Destino, the off-the-ropes Destino, but if he properly lines you up, sets you up, and gets your arm into position, you're dead. Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's interesting that Cody has the most unprotected finisher in AEW, and fortunately,
it's a bit weird.
Omega still has the most protected, and
as it should be.
Long may that reign.
Yes.
I do believe only one person has ever kicked out of the...
Ibushi's the only one to kick out of it.
The one-winged angel, yeah. So
he should be the only person. Just saying.
Yes,
he should remain the only person.
Yeah, I completely agree. Oh, until I was going to say until he comes to AEW. Till he comes to AEW, and then it'd still be
Golden
him.
Lovers 2.
So overall, what did we think of Dynamite? What score did we give it overall? I'm thinking a B.
I think it's a B of a show. I think it's got some really good highlights, a lot of very solid stuff. The downs are short. The humor is great. Yeah, I would definitely recommend watching this episode and being willing to show it to people who don't know wrestling. It is a powerful sun bear of an episode. It is beautiful and aggressive.
I think it's a great episode if you are like trying to get somebody to watch wrestling. I think it didn't have too much ludicrousness apart from maybe the Britt Baker bit. But
if you don't love that promo, you don't have a soul.
Yes, exactly. That's what
go on. Sorry.
You get some really good wrestling. You get some great storytelling. It's a good starting off arc for a lot of characters. I feel it would be a good place for somebody that may be new to AEW to start watching.
So a good episode 2 of the new season of Dynamite, as
Correct.
we are now referring to.
Correct.
So and now we move on from our reviews to our questions, and we have a couple of questions this week. They have been sent in by Mr. Wade through Facebook. The first one being, it's something we've touched on before, but I don't think we've been very specific and hardline on it. I'm going to impose our usual discussion rules on this. You can have one each.
Okay.
Of the WWE releases that happened recently, are there any we specifically want to AEW? Mr. Strange.
I am going to go with, and I've had to skim through them. Obviously, I'm not the biggest WWE guy, and I don't know all the guys, but I would go with Ethan Carter III. He works really well with the FTR guys. He's worked with MJF in the past. He's got really good ring presence. I've seen him do the ring announcements for other wrestlers who aren't really known whilst he was there on the indies. He's got a real love and soul for the industry. He's got a great look. I think he'd be brilliant either as a twatty face, because I've seen him do it. He's got a good smile. He could be with Cody and the Elite. You could throw him in with MJF and Wardlow and put him in that sort of category. And he's never really had his proper shot at the light for a man who's as good as he is and as sculpted as he is and as good as promos as he is. So I'd go for EC3.
Is Mr. Muir going to steal mine? Mr. Muir.
First, I don't want to steal anybody, so you carry on and I'll move on to what I think after that.
So I'm going to go with the one that we've mentioned before. There is but one man who I think would be awesome. We have actually booked him into AEW already, and that is Rusev. I think Rusev is a brilliant one. And hopefully Lana's WWE contract comes up soon, and we can have them to come over as a couple.
Aww.
See, that would have been my choice, but I'll move on to my second one, which is... it's a pair, because they're generally a pair, which is Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Myself, I'd love to see them tagging in AEW.
No, you don't. You want them to go back to Bullet Club.
Yeah, I do, but I also... but on this show, I'm championing AEW, so I want them to come here. But I think they would be fantastic in it, and I just love them. They're so comedic, and they're so serious when they need to be. From Southpaw down to down to their Bullet Club stuff. They're just fantastic, and they should be at the top of their game.
I like the idea of original Bullet Club turning up against the Elite. I'm quite.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like how we'd book it for the future. That does.
Write it down, Morg.
Yeah, that sounds like how we'd book it for the future. So. The second question that was asked is, what do we think of the Drake Maverick, Rockstar Spud storyline? Now, we touched on this a little last week. This week, he got his contract back for, I believe, winning the current cruiserweight title that's not the official cruiserweight title on NXT. What do we think of that storyline? This idea that when they did all these releases, that maybe his release wasn't real?
I think you need to look at this two ways, to be honest. If it's that he was unsigned, he did actually get fired, and that was a true promo, and then he's won his contract back through the wrestling and through this story arc and how much heat and momentum he's built from it, that is more acceptable. If it's the other way around, it's monstrous.
I think I'm the closest out of three of us to having grown up near Wolverhampton. I think I'm the yammiest of us all, aren't I?
Correct.
And I said very specifically at the time, I find it very hard to watch a yam cry. Actually, I think he's a Brummie, isn't he? Either way, it's my turf, my territory. So I was quite cut up when I saw little Rockstar Spud, who I've seen on the High Spots Network and doing a bunch of things, crying because his dream job had been taken from him. You know, a local lad, not the biggest lad, little cruiserweight one. If his upset and social momentum has earned him his job back, I would say that's a showing point to how much some of the issues within WWE in itself, that they don't care about you unless you are literally of maximum worth, and they won't push you until, you know, they'll ride your momentum but won't give you any. If this is all a work from the start, it is incredibly dishonest, terrible, and I will think less of Drake Maverick and the WWE as a whole. I think putting out a genuine-looking social message where other wrestlers were really upset, shared it, getting a whole piece of momentum, and it being fake is complete fucking bullshit, and somebody should be smacked in the face for that. On the other hand, he did look very realistic crying, so I think it's real. But if it isn't, one, he's a great actor, and two, he's a terrible person.
I think, if I remember correctly, Triple H has come out to actually say that they re-signed him because of the momentum from it, but that could also be a work. Don't work yourself into a shoot, brother, but, you know.
Yeah, I'd like to think that it was because of what he's done and the momentum behind. I think we're all in agreement here. If it's that he got it back because of that promo, got such a groundswell of support from fans in the back, but we haven't got those fans in a crowd to make it be a thing, if that makes sense. And that's where my concern is. They have also offered a lot of the released guys ridiculously lower.
Please don't go to other promotions. We want them to die.
Well, no, but they've offered them like next to no money comparatively, nowhere near the money they were on before to come back.
They would probably make more on the indies than some of the wages that they've been offered. And, you know, the indies aren't the best place to earn money, are they?
It's time to listen to David Starr and unionize little wrestlers. It's time. Just saying.
There is also the fact that Cody has already proved that you can make that kind of money on the indies. That was Cody's thing. Cody, you can make a decent living on the indies. WWE is not, it's only the be all and end all because it's the biggest name, and it's currently getting a lot of stigma attached to it repeatedly, which is not good in our more progressive era.
No, you're 100% right, and I would go anywhere else but there if I had the choice. But in these hard times, it's kind of like, well, I'd rather sleep with the devil and be able to pay my wages, you know?
Or do you go and dance with the angels in a place that gives you medical and also has the option of medical, is probably somewhere that would be quite receptive to the idea of unionizing and is owned by someone who could actually buy Vince?
100%. If AEW came and offered them all contracts, I would 100% agree. But
that's where the big thing is now. That I'm hoping that what will happen with WWE when we're out of all this hideousness is that it will go back to being a bit like when WCW were offering the guaranteed money contracts, and WWE had to do it to catch up, is that WWE will have to start offering medical, etc., because AEW are just absolutely trouncing them, and everybody wants to leave and go to AEW.
All we can hope for.
Adam Cole could be the big catalyst.
Exactly.
If Adam Cole goes to WWE, considering that goes to AEW, considering that NXT is the brand that is having a lot of flagship push behind it at the minute. Vince has taken an interest in NXT. I think Adam Cole leaving, going to AEW, that could be their Lex Luger moment, or maybe their Scott Hall, Kevin Nash moment.
You've got to hope. At the end of the day, AEW is the most not AEW, WWE is the most monstrous company if it can get away with it. But as we've seen in the past with WCW, it always pushes the best out of AEW, out of WWE. So hopefully we will see good improvements there. But
yeah,
it's still monstrous what they're doing to these people for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that Vince's XFL folded, because that would have taken him away and Triple H could have taken over, and and Triple H has actually shown himself to have a bit more of a social conscience as well.
That's what we were all hoping, but here we are.
Yeah, in things I've seen, Triple H seems to be a little bit more. I mean, he's not
a better human.
Yeah, I don't think he's uber progressive. No, I think Triple H is progressive. I don't think he's at the level that the guys from AEW and the Elite are.
But I mean, they've definitely got their Republican voting members in the Elite, and a bit of more traditional American patriotism than you would expect from people like Cody and the Bucks, good Christian boys and stuff. Not to criticize anybody who is religious, but I'm saying they're not all necessarily the most progressive people, but it's definitely an improvement.
So that's our answer to those questions, including a little bit of extra. If you would like to get in touch with us, we are wrestleopinionated@gmail.com. We are WrestleOP on Facebook. We are WrestleOP1 on Twitter. Please feel free to send us questions, ideas for discussions, or if you would like Mr. Strange to rant about something for you,
I'm prepared to rage on a whim.
Then he is always happy to rant about and get angry about something. Speaking of which, it's time for Mr. Strange and the rant of the week. Over to you, sir.
Time for me to get a little bit angry and voice some opinions. Hi, AEW. And none of you are listening, but, I'm going to speak directly to you. I appreciate that when we first started this podcast, we were very respectful of how you were using the legendary wrestlers, the old dudes or people who can't wrestle anymore. We appreciated the push forwards for not putting them into wrestling matches and doing them as managers. We're going to need to stop with the old manager dudes now. I appreciate that you're giving the respectful, but we've got coach old dude, evil old dude, angry old dude, submission old dude, Jesus old dude. If we know Cody's got his eyes on Sting, that's his favorite wrestler. What's he going to come in as? Emo old dude for Darby? We even thought that would be a good idea, but now we're up to like 5 of the little assholes. DDP is teaching QT the secret moves, like some kind of master coach. You're going to get Ray in. Ray's probably on the way out. And I appreciate the old people know shit story, but we've got different options. Damn, couldn't we get one who's just a cantankerous shit? Put him in the office, let him roam around causing shit. He doesn't need to manage anyone. He can just be a character. We've got back scenes characters. It's cool. Or what about a young manager who's like some kind of savant tactician, comes in with his team. He's going to rival up against the old dudes. That gives us a chance for people who aren't necessarily wrestling to play other characters and have a feud that could be like the feud of management. The old tricks versus the new school of technician. Or a lady. We've got ladies too. We could have a female manager. I'm sure there's some older female wrestlers who would love a career to come in and do things. Hell, that's what Awesome Kong could be doing right now. I know she's injured and can't wrestle. Give her Kylan Lee. Just break it up a little bit. Old dude Sage is kind of getting a bit played out. We know Taz is going to pass on Taz missions. DDP's teaching cutters. Arn's always got his little sheet thing. Tully's got a magic glove. Who the fuck have I missed? There's another one.
Jake the Snake.
Jake the Snake with snakes and DDT. We haven't even seen Lance do a DDT. Can we just... Look, you just shouted Jake the Snake at me. Just slow it down, boys. The old sage is a thing, and it's good, and it's a well-used trope, but so is the shitty old man doing his thing. So are sagely women. So are young, tactical, up-and-coming new people who look at the game objectively and have learned from the techniques. We can play this up. You can use old men in different ways. You can bring in a different selection of characters. You can have young people who understand things. Fucking give me a Sun Tzu reader. I don't care. Just saying that maybe no more managers. If Sting comes in, give him his own thing. If you get Ray, set him off to the side. Please don't have him be a teacher to the Lucha Brothers. Just chill it out, boys. We've got enough old managers. Let's have some people who can just do shit on their own.
What I would like to see, though, would be Max Strider coming in to be just a shit heel, just going around giving shit if we're talking about old people. But, well, he's not particularly old, but I'd really like to see Max Strider back in wrestling.
Striker.
Yeah.
I think he actually would be a good shout for the young tactician wrestler.
Yeah, he's super smart. He knows loads of stuff. He's very verbose. Bring him in, but attach him to a group of shitty heels, or give him somebody like TH2.
See, I was about to say lads on tour, but yeah, TH2.
TH2 would probably be better.
He knows them. They're really good. He's always been good at like wanker bounce about, and TH2 is basically a pair of bellends. So yeah, bring Matt Striker in. That'll blow the paradigm out the water. He can outdo old men because he's got degrees and shit, and he talks about D&D, which
Before we go into discussion, I just want to lay one more on you here. Death
God.
Triangle, of course. Death Triangle should have a manager.
I don't think so.
No. I think you'll change your mind when I say the words Dario Cueto.
Okay, yes, fair enough. You are correct, Morg, as always. Oh, man,
And
I'd love
once
to
again,
see it.
not that old, wouldn't come across as an old retired wrestler. He'd just be a man who is a manager, and he is the world's most Spanish man.
I love him so much. I miss him every day that we don't have Lucha Underground. I think
so.
Oh, sorry.
As a thought, because I am literally just throwing this because I've just thought of it.
Yep.
We have spoken about Lucha Underground a lot. This should have been in our questions section, but we have spoken. So if you would like us to rewatch Lucha Underground and chuck out maybe once a month or every couple of weeks a kind of review of 3 episodes of Lucha Underground, we will happily rewatch all of Lucha Underground for you, the listeners, so you can find out just why Lucha Underground was the greatest thing since great things.
Do you like Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Do you like wrestling? Well, have I got something for you?
So, moving on from that, we have our discussion over to Mr. Muir.
Right, as advertised this week in Dynamite, which I think is an interesting thing, is Fighter Fest is going to be over 2 shows instead of being done as a pay-per-view, which is obviously because of the social condition and everything that's going on at the moment. But what do you guys think about having less pay-per-view and more supercards like Bash at the Beach or this Fighter Fest that is just on normal TV?
Go on, Morg.
Go on, Morg.
So when I saw it, I really liked it. I thought it was a really good cover. Should we address the small elephant in the room? That
Yes.
There is a rumor that this year they were going to push for Fighter Fest to not be in America. They were going.
It was going to be in London.
It was going to be in London. So that's the small elephant in the room, because we would have been there, man.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I really like it. When I noticed that it was going to be over 2 nights, first I didn't notice the day and the dates at first. So I was a bit like, okay, they're doing it as a 2-night thing. That's interesting, because Fighter Fest is on the back of somebody else's gaming
It's the man that Kenny Omega won the tournament of at Street Fighter V, and then he became into a wrestling show as well.
Yeah.
He should play Guilty Gear, the fucking casual.
I'm sure he does, mate. I wouldn't challenge him.
And then I saw it was going to be over 2 episodes of Dynamite. Do you know what? I quite like that. Because the guys are going to push pay-per-view quality, and we know they can do. They did it with Double or Nothing. I mean, we gave Double or Nothing a good review. We enjoyed it. So I think 2 weeks of pay-per-view quality wrestling on free TV is very good for AEW. I think it's a very good pitch as well. Come and watch our pay-per-view for free. If you're deciding between watching NXT or AEW, it's possibly going to pull more viewers over, and viewer figures are good and important, especially in this time. So yeah, I'm quite happy with it. What do you think, Mr. Strange?
Yeah, I'm down with it. We live in bad times where people don't have a lot of money, and we can't have pay-per-views. And so why not? Why not make it a 2-show extravaganza? Put a bit of extra flair on those shows. It's no different to like when you'd watch any other TV show and they'd have like a special like 2-part episode. I've seen that in every series, from cartoons as a kid to Venture Brothers to... Don't watch a lot of TV these days. Other things from the 90s and 2000s. Ash and the Evil Dead. 2-part extra special episodes, 2-part mini series, 2 parts little special side arcs are huge in TV these days. We see it in every sort of thing. A little highlight episode which brings up the story or brings it out. So I don't see why you wouldn't do the same. We'll get amazing wrestling. They'll dress it up a bit more. It's technically easier on the wrestlers because they don't have to have a week's wrestling and then go to the pay-per-view. I literally see nothing wrong with it. People who think that it's devaluing pay-per-views or anything like that just don't understand that wrestling it's just entertainment. And then if the social and financial climate involves changing things up to give us 2 more extravagant specials, why the fuck not?
This is what I was wanting to bring up. My feelings on it, I really enjoy it because I think it makes the pay-per-views feel more special and makes Dynamite feel more special. Because I know it's a common thing to rag on WWE, but have to here. But they have like a pay-per-view every month, and it just means the show is worthless because you know if anything big's going to happen, it's going to happen at those pay-per-views. So what's the point of watching the rest of the show? But if you only have 4 pay-per-views a month and then these special bashes at the beaches or Fighter Fest, I feel it really brings out the specialness of the belts, because all the belts are on the line for this show. That makes it really interesting. It'll boost viewers, and it doesn't depreciate the belts like, 2000 WCW or whatever you want to say with belts that have been depreciated, because they're still being held to a loft where they're only on the show for these supercards that they bring out.
Yeah, but so we're all super positive, basically. Yes, we like the little specials.
I didn't know if that was going to be so positive, because I've seen both ways with it. Like, people have been quite against it, so I was very surprised that's all gone that way.
I can understand that you can be against it. It's just people who want everything to be 1950s fucking Southern wrestling, isn't it?
I think it's a bit
I like to look at a card. I like to look at a card and know whether Brock Lesnar is going to beat or defeat his opponent instantly upon looking at the picture.
I think that's a bit harsh, but yes, it does feel like that.
Champion should only be wheeled out, just rolled out 4 times a year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there you have it. That is our views on this week's AEW and our discussions. We are Wrestle Opinionated on Spotify and on Anchor.fm. We are, as I said earlier, if you want to get in touch with us, wrestleopinionated@gmail.com, WrestleOP on Facebook, WrestleOP1 on Twitter. We'd like to say thanks to Anchor.fm for hosting the podcast. Over to you, Mr. Muir.
Thank you very much. Please send us stuff, and it's been fantastic to be here, and be nice to each other out there. On to you, Strange.
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah, send us some shit to talk about, and send me something to get angry about. Like, I don't always, all these rants aren't always things that I've come up with. They get given to me occasionally, and I'm like, let's fucking do this because of my incredible temper problem. Yeah, feed us back some feedback. Feed us back some things you'd like to hear. Throw some things you want to talk about, things to get angry about, tier lists you want to hear. We'll throw absolutely anything in. And as Mr. Muir says, try to be nice to each other out there. Don't be like Hulk Hogan. And back to Morg.
So all that's left to be said is goodbye and good night.